Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. The Indian government briefs political parties on Operation Sindoor. The opposition hails the strike on terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. India asks its states to stay alert in the wake of Operation Sindoor. Mock drills held to test emergency preparedness. Pakistan continues to violate ceasefire across the line of control. Uncertainty prevails as a three-day ceasefire called by Russia comes into force. Ukraine dismisses it as theatrics, asks for a 30-day truce instead. Tensions escalate on the Korean peninsula. South Korea claims that the North fired what appear to be multiple short-range ballistic missiles off its east coast. And the US Central Bank holds the rates steady despite Trump's pressure, flags rising inflation and job market risks, stocks rise in choppy trade. The government convened an all-party meeting to brief all political parties on Operation Sindoor in Parliament. The opposition hailed the strike on terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. It said they are with the government in the fight against terrorism.
हम सभी जितने भी पार्टी के लोग थे, सभी ने ये बताया कि इस घड़ी में, इस संकट के घड़ी में हम सब आपके साथ हैं और आप जो काम कर रहे हैं करते रहिए और देश के हित में हम आपके साथ रहेंगे।
आज के ऑल पार्टी मीटिंग में मैंने कॉम्प्लीमेंट किया हमारी आर्म फोर्सेस को और भारत सरकार को कि उन्होंने एक ऑपरेशन सिंदूर को अंजाम दिया। मैंने अपनी बात में ये कहा कि एक इंटरनेशनल कैंपेन हमको चलाना चाहिए टीआरएफ के खिलाफ और ख़ास तौर से सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल इसको डेजिग्नेट करे और हमको यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका को ये बताना है कि वो अपने ही मुल्क में इसको फॉरेन टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डेजिग्नेट करे।
The all-party meeting comes a day after the Indian Armed Forces carried out targeted strikes at terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The coordinated strikes were in response to the 22nd April terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, when a group of terrorists gunned down 26 people, including one citizen of Nepal. And joining me for more on the all-party meeting is my colleague Debyendu Mondal. Debyendu, tell us more about this meeting.
Well, Ramesh, this meeting was called by the government to brief all the political parties that are represented in the Indian Parliament. And the meeting was chaired by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. It was also co-chaired by Union Home Minister Amit Shah. Representation from almost all the political parties across India were present in this all-party meeting. And after, of course, the meeting went on for over an hour, and the government briefed all the political parties about the Operation Sindoor and also about the strategic operations that the government has, in fact, the strategic planning that the government had undertaken to before the Operation Sindoor was implemented. So, of course, a detailed review and a detailed meeting with all the political parties, and also suggestions as well as opinions of the political parties were presented, and the government did take note of all the suggestions that came from the political parties. And after the meeting was over, we have seen reactions coming in from all the political parties, be it the Congress, the BJD, In fact, also the AIMIM that is represented by Asaduddin Owaisi, all have unequivocally hailed the government and the armed forces of India for carrying out a successful strike like Operation Sindoor on the terror camps across the border in Pakistan, and therefore, they have all unequivocally said that they stand by India as well as by the government, and have hailed the government for this successful operation that weeded out almost 9 terrorist camps that were operating from parts of which are operating from Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and many of which were also being operated from the mainland Pakistan. So therefore, the political parties have extended their support. They've said that they are with the government and the armed forces of India, and have, in fact, some political parties have also given suggestions to the government in terms of raising this issue with the United Nations as well as the UN Security Council in the coming days, and therefore, and also about the issue with related to the IMF, the funding that Pakistan receives from the IMF, and therefore many suggestions were presented to the government, and of course the government will take a view and stand on what the suggestions could perhaps be taken into, and what actions could lead further from here. But it seems that the government has reached out as an effort to bring all the political parties on the same table and present that India is united irrespective of political ideologies and political opinions of different political parties, that India stands united at this hour, and we are going to give a tough, befitting reply to Pakistan if they try to do any misadventure on the Indian land. So therefore, it is a clear message that India is together in this, irrespective of political ideologies or opinions that might have on the political sphere. But when it comes to India, the country is united and it stands together.
Debyendu, thank you. Debyendu Mondal reporting there on the just concluded all-party meeting held in New Delhi. In other news, the latest video footage of damaged buildings have reiterated India's stand of precision and lethal strike in many terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Destruction was clearly visible as the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Muridke town of Pakistan's Punjab province, Markaz Taiba in the Nangal Sehdan town in Muridke was destroyed in the strikes. Latest satellite images also show the destruction in Muridke city in Pakistan's Punjab province. Another footage of the Bilal Mosque in Muzaffarabad showed the roof and walls of a concrete building crumbled under the impact of the strikes and household items scattered on the floor. The Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Pakistani city of Bahawalpur in the Punjab province was also reduced to a rubble. The facility is linked to Jaish-e-Mohammed founder and terror mastermind Masood Azhar. France has expressed its full solidarity with India, condemning the terrorist attack in Pahalgam on 22nd of April. France's Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs on Wednesday said it supports India in its fight against terrorist groups. The statement said that France is closely monitoring the situation and deeply concerned about the latest developments between India and Pakistan. It calls for a de-escalation and the protection of civilians. UK Member of Parliament Preeti Patel condemned the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack. She called on the British government to strengthen counter-terror cooperation with India. Speaking in the UK House of Commons, Patel reiterated her condolences to the victims and urged the UK to recognize the cross-border terror threat posed by groups operating from Pakistan. Patel also highlighted the importance of the UK's security cooperation with India, pointing to the history of terrorism that India has faced and Pakistan's past harboring of terrorists.
This is clearly a precarious moment, and we want to see tensions ease between India and Pakistan. We want to avoid a state-on-state military escalation. We're also clear that India has the right to take reasonable and proportionate steps to defend itself and to dismantle the vile terrorist infrastructure that has caused death and continues to threaten them. And we know that terrorists based in Pakistan threaten India and Western interests. It was the country that Osama bin Laden was hiding in. And because of the long history of violence inflicted by terrorists on India, the UK has in place long-standing security cooperation agreements with India. And in fact, last week in this House, I reminded the government of those long-standing security agreements, why they exist and why they should matter to us here in the UK. Given these links, the UK government should be at the forefront of working with our friends and allies to tackle the terrorist threats that we face collectively.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met with Saudi Arabia's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Adel Al-Jubair, in New Delhi on Thursday. In the talks, Minister Jaishankar shared India's perspectives on firmly countering terrorism with his Saudi Arabian counterpart. Pakistan-based handles are spreading old videos falsely alleging strikes on a military base in Amritsar. The Press Information Bureau has debunked these false claims. It said the video being shared is from a wildfire from 2024. It asked people to avoid sharing unverified information and rely only on official sources from the Government of India for accurate information. Pakistan-based handles are sharing an old image claiming that the Pakistani army has intercepted an unmanned aerial vehicle drone that fell in Gujranwala, Pakistan. The image being circulated is from the Ukraine-Russia conflict in 2022. Pakistani accounts are also sharing videos of a crash claiming Pakistan has shot down another Indian fighter plane. The PIB said the video being shared is from February 2025 and depicts the crash of an Indian Air Force Mirage 2000 aircraft near Shivpuri in Gwalior, which occurred during a routine training mission. Further, an old video from September 2019 of the Pakistani army raising a white flag at LOC to recover bodies of its dead soldiers is also being shared by Pakistani handles. It is being falsely claimed that it is Indian army waving white flags at the LOC to retrieve bodies of its soldiers. Meanwhile, Pakistan continues to violate ceasefire across the line of control. During the night of 7th and 8th May, Pakistani army posts resorted to unprovoked fire using small arms and artillery guns across the LOC in areas opposite Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri and Akhnur areas in Jammu and Kashmir. The Indian army responded proportionately. Moments after India's Operation Sindoor, Pakistan started firing, including artillery shelling from posts across the line of control in Poonch district. 13 civilians, including women and children, were killed and as many as 59 injured in the firing. Border district Poonch remained the most affected of shelling by Pakistan, where several houses and vehicles have also been damaged. Hundreds of residents along the line of control and the international border are being evacuated to safer zones as authorities chalked out countermeasures to safeguard civilians from Pakistani shelling. Officials said the district administrations have been mobilized and all resources made available for necessary arrangements for the convenience of people, especially females, so that they do not face any problem at the temporary shelter homes. An Indian Army Jawan was martyred after sustaining injuries in artillery shelling by Pakistan in the Poonch sector of Jammu and Kashmir on Wednesday. The White Knight Corps on Wednesday confirmed the supreme sacrifice of Lance Naik Dinesh Kumar of the 5 Field Regiment in a social media post. They also expressed solidarity with the civilians affected by the cross-border attacks. India's National Investigation Agency has issued a public appeal for information regarding the Pahalgam terror attack. The agency has urged tourists, visitors and residents who may have photographs, videos or any relevant information about the incident to come forward. Such contributions could be crucial in identifying the perpetrators and understanding their methods. The NIA has already collected numerous photographs and videos related to the attack and is examining them thoroughly. To ensure no useful information is overlooked, the agency is intensifying its efforts. In its appeal, the NIA has requested individuals to contact the agency via mobile number 96549 58816 or landline number 011 2436 8800. A senior NIA official will coordinate with the caller to collect the relevant information. The NIA plans to meticulously review all such materials along with any additional information from individuals who were in the area on or before the day of the incident. Time for a short break. News and updates continue on the other side. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has proposed a three-day ceasefire starting Thursday to coincide with Moscow's Victory Day parade on Friday. Ukraine never agreed to the proposal and dismissed it as theatrics. It called instead for a 30-day ceasefire. For the past 3 days, Moscow and Kiev staged aerial attacks, prompting airport closures in Russia. The attacks triggered hours of chaos late Tuesday and Wednesday with temporary airport closures in Moscow and its surrounding regions. The Kremlin has said Russian forces will honor Putin's order for the duration of the holiday but will respond immediately if Ukraine launches any fire. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky renewed his call for a 30-day ceasefire in his evening address on Wednesday.
І абсолютно справедливо, що
It is absolutely fair that the Russian sky, the sky of the aggressor, is also uneasy today in a mirror-like way. Ukraine's proposal to cease strikes and establish at least a 30-day ceasefire remains in force. We are not withdrawing this proposal, which could give diplomacy a chance. But from Russia, the world sees no response. No response except for new strikes. This clearly and obviously demonstrates to everyone who the source of the conflict is.
не бачить відповідь.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said that Trump administration wanted Russia and Ukraine to agree on some guidelines for talking to each other directly, which would be necessary to end the conflict.
Obviously, the United States is happy to participate in those conversations, but it's very important for the Russians and the Ukrainians to start talking to one another. We think that is the next big step that we would like to take. And why does that matter? The reason it matters is because, again, I mentioned the Russians, but also the Ukrainians have also been sort of, they've put a piece of paper in our hands that says this is what we would need in order to bring this conflict to a successful resolution from our perspective.
North Korea fired at least one unidentified ballistic missile about a week after Pyongyang tested a new destroyer. Pyongyang fired unidentified ballistic missile into the East Sea, which is also known as the Sea of Japan. The launch came about a week after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered Navy vessels to be speedily armed with nuclear weapons as the country conducted its first test firing of a new warship weapons system. Last month, Pyongyang unveiled a 5,000-ton destroyer-class vessel named Cho Hyun that some analysts said could be equipped with short-range tactical nuclear missiles. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that he would announce a major trade deal on Thursday with a big and highly respected country. In a post on his Truth social platform, Trump said he would announce the deal at 10 a.m. local time, that is 1400 GMT, in a news conference in the Oval Office at the White House. Trump said it would be a major trade deal with representatives of a big and highly respected country. Trump did not identify the country involved. He touted the deal as the first of many. Trump has imposed sweeping tariffs on U.S. trading partners, and he has been claiming for weeks now that countries were lining up to strike trade deals with the United States. The second G20 Culture Working Group session took place over 2 days at the Sandton Convention Centre in South Africa, aligned with the G20 theme Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability. South Africa's Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, delivered the keynote address at the opening ceremony. As part of South Africa's historic G20 presidency, the first on African soil, the event highlights the growing global acknowledgement of culture's key role in advancing sustainable development. DD India's Nazneen Ismail reports from Johannesburg.
The G20 Second Culture Working Group meeting concluded in Johannesburg, marking a significant step forward in global cultural diplomacy. Delegates from the member states and international partners reaffirmed their collective commitment to protecting cultural heritage, empowering creative industries, and promoting inclusive, sustainable cultural cooperation under South Africa's G20 presidency. We met with Ms. Lily Pandeya, Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Culture for the Government of India, and this is her feedback regarding the meeting. And I quote, "Culture must be understood and valued for its own sake. It also plays a cross-cutting role in the Sustainable Development Agenda, particularly as we look beyond 2030. Culture should be recognized as a strategic driver of development. While the G20 is primarily an economic forum, the inclusion of culture highlights the growing importance of the creative economy. It is crucial to measure the contribution of culture to GDP and to explore the vast potential of the cultural sector in generating employment." Unquote. For DD India, Johannesburg, South Africa, I'm Nazneen, bringing you the pulse on global progress.
Thick black smoke emerged from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel in a sign that cardinals had failed to elect a new head of the Catholic Church in their first conclave vote. Tens of thousands of people gathered in St. Peter's Square to await the smoke, which came around 3 hours and 15 minutes after the 133 cardinals were closed in. The prelates will now withdraw to the Santa Martha guest house, where they are staying for the election, before starting to vote again on Thursday. The cardinals were called back to Rome following the death of Pope Francis on April 21 after 12 years as the head of the world's 1.4 billion strong Catholic community. On to business news now. The U.S. Federal Reserve has once again held interest rates steady, marking the third consecutive time since January. The central bank, however, warned of rising risks of inflation and unemployment, signaling continued uncertainty for the economy. Take a look at the next report.
The Fed kept the target range for the federal funds rate unchanged at 4.25 to 4.5%, aligning with market expectations. There was no surprise, but all eyes are on the next step. Fed Chair Jerome Powell declared the U.S. economy solid, yet warned of rising uncertainty. The central bank vowed to stay flexible, watching the data.
Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer-run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
Jerome Powell emphasized a cautious stance as the Fed balances inflationary pressures with potential labor market softness. He identified trade tensions, particularly from Trump's tariffs, as a significant factor obscuring the economic outlook.
The tariff increases announced so far have been significantly larger than anticipated. All of these policies are still evolving, however, and their effects on the economy remain highly uncertain. As economic conditions evolve, we'll continue to determine the appropriate stance of monetary policy based on the incoming data, the outlook, and the balance of risks.
Powell also said that recent public criticism leveled at him by President Trump didn't affect his job of tackling inflation and unemployment at all. Wall Street stocks closed higher following the Fed's decision. After the tariff rollout, experts don't foresee any rate cuts for this year, predicting that tariffs will push up prices and slow growth. Bureau Report, DD India.
And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code now on your screen to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.